Yesterday was a total roller coaster of information and emotions. Ark Survival Ascended trailer appears, followed by a hidden announcement that it was coming to Steam within hours. Console versions delayed. Then the entire release of the game was delayed. I ended up calling it quits around 12:30 p.m. my time, which is EST. And somewhere after that, Ark Survival Ascended came kicking and screaming into existence. Welcome back to the channel. It's LtBuzzLitebeer, and we've got a ton of new information and some late-breaking developments to go over in this one. I'm trying to keep it civil, but there's enough bubbling over right now that this will inevitably turn into an Ark rant. In case you haven't done so already, make sure to hit subscribe and ring the notifications bell to receive my latest upload alerts. Likes, comments, shares are greatly appreciated. Chapters are going to be included in this one in case you want to jump around a bit and hold on to your butts. Here we go. Okay, so just a really quick recap because I posted a full review of the ASA trailer we got yesterday during the Xbox Partner Preview. I mean, overall, I thought the visuals, especially the lighting effects, were really well done. There was, of course, some Ark movement jank still present there, especially in the character movements and when the Mosasaurus crests out of the water. But overall, it was impressive to see, and after that, the fireworks began. First off, the trailer on the live stream mentioned a release date of coming soon. But right after that, the studio posted video of that same trailer included the available today on PC, but down in the comment section, it's not mentioned anywhere else, nothing, just poof. Hey everyone, coming later today to Steam PC. And of course, that's shock number 1, which was immediately followed up by shock number 2. The console release was delayed until sometime in November, which, FYI, I've spoken with multiple creators, and there are several November dates flying around right now for this one. The 1st, the 22nd, and I just want to be clear that none of us have heard or seen anything definitive on those dates. So at this point, it's all just hearsay. But back to that console delay, and right after I posted yesterday's video, I completely logged off for some actual work projects, and right after that my phone just started blowing up. Hey Buzz, did you hear about console? Delayed. And I thought, yeah, there's no way, because Wildcard had already publicly stated that ASA would release on all platforms simultaneously, and since the PC release date was already given, surely consoles would then be tagged onto that date. I was proven wrong. Console versions of ASA were delayed, which is a huge cross-section of the Ark community. Even the Windows Store version of PC is delayed. Only the Steam PC version would release, and it did so very late last night. Now, we all know about the Nitrado October 31st deadline, but here was Wildcard once again proving their inability to communicate effectively. I'm still gutted at how the console community got the shaft again when it came down to Wildcard and Ark. And it wasn't until really late last night, after a launch delay, after another launch delay, a few more hours here, a few more hours there. Hey guys, just a little bit more. Did we finally get the Steam launch of ASA and a statement about those console delays? And to be honest, it wasn't much on details. Last night, while continuing our internal quality assurance process for ASA, our team identified some critical issues in the multiplayer version of the game that would have had major implications for the console versions of the game. Unfortunately, due to these issues, we've decided to delay the launch of the Xbox and PlayStation versions of the game until November. We understand that this news is disappointing, and trust us, we're disappointed too. Okay, the team really did aim to get everything out for all platforms in October, but we fell short just at the finish line. We're sorry about that, as we know a lot of you have been very excited about this launch and made plans around it. First question is, how would anyone make plans around the launch date when it hasn't been yet revealed and was just sprung on the community out of the blue and found in a video description of all places? Okay. Continuing on, crossplay will stay disabled between Steam and consoles while they work out the issues. Once the console version is ready, official servers will be spun up with bonus rates to allow console players to catch up in preparation for cross-Ark, so not ideal in the slightest. And we all expected the PC release of ASA to have issues, right? Because nobody in their right mind expected it to launch ready to go, and it turns out there was already an exploit discovered allowing players to gain admin powers, bringing about a full server wipe to fix the issue. And man, I can't imagine that. You log on, it's late at night, you slog it out for a couple of hours, and then your progress is completely erased, as there was apparently an easily discovered loophole allowing players to fly around the map. The stability of the game has been all over the place, as players were and are still reporting crashing issues. I myself saw several during my game time, more on that in a moment, because I do have some live Ark Survival Ascended footage recorded for you. And it all feels like we've been here before, right? Shoddy performance, lack of communication, etc., etc. New game, same old results. Which brings me to the actual performance of Ark Survival Ascended, and this was a mixed bag for me. I was using my render rig to record this for you, which uses a workstation AMD Threadripper Pro 3975WX CPU, 256 gigs of DDR4 RAM, and a GeForce RTX 3090 FE. So it's not the most recent GPU, but the 3090 is no slouch either. Now, I recorded everything for you to see, as I consistently picked a West Zone 2 spawn, and I tried to run a 3 or 4 note path so as to use a pretty consistent terrain and area to test this all out in. 4K Epic using the quality DLSS settings saw my frames hit anywhere from the high teens up to the mid 30s. I mean, it did look pretty good from time to time, but the frames flying all over the place was just brutal. Next, I kept the 4K Epic settings, but I changed the DLSS settings over to Eultra-Performance, and the game performed a bit better, mostly hitting into the mid 30 FPS range, but the change in upscaling was instantly noticeable, and after about 5 minutes recording on these settings, I crashed. At this point, I switched over to using one of my 1440p monitors, kept it at Ultra settings and quality upscaling, and overall, this seemed to be the sweet spot for my hardware. The frames were nowhere close to 60, averaging in the low 30s, but at least they were consistent. I then switched the DLSS over to Eultra-Performance and saw FPS in the upper 30s into the mid 40s, but it jumped around just a tad bit too much for me. But it was good to see my FPS counter start with a 4 instead of a 3, a 2, or even a 1. And finally, for science, I dropped the settings all the way down to the low preset, went for the balanced upscaler, and finally started pegging out close to 60 FPS. But at this point, we are sacrificing many of the things that are there to make ASA look better than ASE. I mean, don't get me wrong, it already does look better in some areas, but you know, most of the dynos looked pretty similar, at least to me, and besides the water effects and how the grass and items would move as you pushed by them, it doesn't perform like I thought it would. Hopefully you can see from the footage the wild differences in performance I was seeing, and again, I'm not using a 4000 series GPU, but a 3090 is still a very capable card, and I wanted to see more, and I didn't. And listen, I get it. It's an early access game, they are working out the bugs, etc., etc., but this is Ark, using one of the latest iterations of the Unreal Engine, and in many regards, it performs worse than ASE. Hopefully you understand what I'm trying to tell you here. Okay, final bit here, and this one was kind of late breaking, but I did want to include it in this early ASA roundup, and it has to do with Nitrado and hosting dedicated servers. NeddyTheNoodle took to Twitter with this post indicating that the Nitrado hosting verbiage had changed and was now actually contradictory to what the Ark community had first been led to believe, even through messaging from the studio and from messages and responses given by members of Nitrado. In ASE, hosting your own servers was easy, either through the in-game tools via the UI or through other methods like downloading the dedicated Ark app ID through the backend for the dedicated server. allowing you to download just server files, which is exactly what any server provider is going to be doing for you as well. Now, here's the issue with all of this. Ark Survival Ascended does not have these server files. They are missing. Plus, there's no in-game server tools available, and the app ID is hidden. And when people actually do locate it and attempt to download it, it says subscription service required, suggesting you need a license to perform this, indicating all of this was planned to deliberately lock the tools out of the players' hands to get as much money out of the players as possible by forcing them to rent Nitrado servers because they can't host. And since the wording is vague and there's no real response from Wildcard, this could be something that is just temporary or it could be permanent. Huge thanks to Neddy for taking the time out of his busy day to hop on a call with me and explain it all, and sorry for all of that tech jargon, but for someone like Neddy who has already bought and paid for a 12-month OVH cloud to run his server on, as was stated in previous ASA Nitrado announcements that players would indeed be able to do this outside of Nitrado, everything for Neddy is now thrown into a state of total chaos. Nitrado seems to have gone in and added in new language to their server hosting FAQ that is quite vague, but seems to be indicating that server hosting can now only be accomplished through the use of their servers and applying for and being accepted into their partner program. Here's the thing, not everyone wants to use Nitrado servers. They have suboptimal performance. Their troubleshooting department is basically non-existent. And they seem to have really bent over Snail Games, gaining exclusive rights to far too much. Thanks again to Neddy for the conversation, and Wildcard, you need to clarify this disaster with a clear statement, especially since hardcore, ultra-dedicated players like Neddy are now out the cheddar for a full year of server rentals, only to now run into this mess from Nitrado. So yeah, not the smoothest of launches for ASA. The whole going live today just out of the blue, but not for you console players, really sucked overall. Then the delays and server exploits that were immediately discovered, followed by a full server wipe. The overall unoptimized performance of the game, and then these last-minute add-ons and overall sketchy bullshit being tacked on by Nitrado. It's definitely been one to remember. Current Steam reviews show about 1,800 total reviews, with only 49% of those returning a positive rating. Most statements have to do with the poor performance, so yeah. I know that many Ark faithful out there are checking it out. Should I buy it? Should I pass? You know, I can't make that decision for you, but right now, it's a mixed bag. It's your call from there. As always, remember to hit subscribe and ring the notifications bell to receive my latest upload alerts. Likes, comments, shares are greatly appreciated. All my socials can be found in the comments section below. Shout out to the nearly 177,000 of you that have stuck with me and hit subscribe. And a special mention goes out to my Patreon supporters and to those of you sending over those much appreciated YouTube super chats. Until the next one, this is LtBuzzLitebeer signing off.